Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vacuum Exposition. I, of course, am Carl, and we are back with another fantastic machine to take a look at, as I'm sure you've probably seen in the thumbnail. Now, we have a lot to talk about today. I know I did make mention that we will be taking a look at some vacuums rescued. Now, granted, today we'll be taking a look at some of those, and one of them you'll probably remember. Now, I do want to kind of make this known about them. Now, I used to do something a long time ago on Instagram, back when I was still trying to find my way in this world of internet social medias and whatnot. I thought I would do a vacuum of the day, not thinking about the sheer amount of work it took to do vacuum of the day. Now, it would all be fine if I was just doing a vacuum and then post a picture, but for probably a month, I was doing vacuum of the day, in which case I would literally write up a paragraph or two of information on a vacuum cleaner, which for a long time was really cool, and I loved to see it. I loved having all that information out there, showing off pieces of my collection. But to be fair, I had a lot more time on my hands than I do right now. I've got a little bit more irons in the fire, which we'll talk about that in a little bit here too. But I used to do something called Workbench Wednesdays, where I would share a project that I was working on, or a project that I just completed, or really anything that I had put some work into. And I used to call it Workbench Wednesday because, well, I just wanted to show what I was doing, that I was active with my collection and everything. So I am considering bringing all that back. Not necessarily on Wednesdays. I mean, our uploads are on Sundays. But for my Workbench Wednesdays, I'm probably going to be maybe making a companion post on my Instagram, maybe Facebook, on something I'm working on that Wednesday. You know, something that a project that I have been working to complete, or maybe a video that I'm trying to get ready for you guys for Sunday. But we'll start looking at that. But I did want to kind of get you up to speed on some of my Workbench Wednesday projects that I've had this past week. But we'll get on to that in our first segment in a little bit here. Now, there have been a lot of things going on in the old Constellation Carl world. Not to talk about myself in the third person too much, but a lot of changes have been happening lately. Big one was my vehicles have changed. Now, I have been the owner of several vehicles over my years, and many breakdowns and flat tires, tow truck trips, and some unfortunate accidents over the years. Now, as of late, I've owned, well, I technically have owned three cars at one time. The first being my little Opel GT sports car. We've seen pictures of that over the years. But I've also had a 2017 Toyota Corolla IM built by Scion that I'll show a picture of right here. But then I've also owned my family's 1992 Toyota DLX extended cab pickup truck in green. A very cool truck that my family has owned for about 30 years now. And it was a great truck for us, but it was getting kind of small and having some issues, electrical issues. So I thought that it was probably time for me to retire that truck and move on to something a little bit newer. So this past week, I sold the old truck and I grabbed my Corolla and some savings, and I went and got this. So now I have myself a 2021 Toyota Tacoma SR5 in Army Green, a 1 year only color, and a very well optioned truck. Literally has everything that I've ever wanted. So it's pretty much my dream truck at this point. So I'm really happy with it. I've always wanted to have a pickup truck, and after some others that have come in the past, I am very excited to finally have the vehicle that I've always wanted for my daily. So with that, I'll probably be doing some more moving and shaking around with my collection, bringing things to and from storage. A little Corolla could do it all right, but it was pretty limited on space. So, but we'll talk about that at a later date. But either way, it's going to be really cool. You guys will probably see it more on the show. But that has been a big change in my world lately. So but that is that. Of course, if you guys haven't already, I know I'm mentioning it at all my videos, but please take a look at the link below. I've attached, me and my wife have started a publishing company that specifically these books are for kiddos that are struggling with their speech sounds. My wife being a speech therapist, and me being a self-taught artist in terms of illustrating. I did all the pictures and she did all the writing. So if you haven't already, please go take a look at our publishing page and get yourself a copy of one of them. This one, of course, being a little bit closer to me with being Victor the Vacuum, about a vacuum that goes on adventures. But this book focuses on the V sound, of course. So if you want to, and if you can, please feel free to go grab one of those. The more people interact and snag copies of these, the more these get out, and well, the more people will be able to see them and hopefully reach out and help more kiddos. So definitely go take a look at that if you get a chance. But that's all I have for our little housekeeping stuff. Let's get on to our video and take a look at some cool vacuums. All right, everybody, so we've got ourselves 3 of these little machines to take a look at today. Now, like I said, these have kind of been my contribution for Workbench Wednesday. I know I haven't really posted anything about them yet, but I wanted to make an announcement on the video first before I really got into it. Now, the first on the very end there, we have about a 1979 Hoover Celebrity 3. Now, that particular model was actually a Kmart special. It came in kind of this green, this like a almost like a grass green and a jade green kind of combination of colors. This would have been one of their higher end models that Hoover offered through Kmart. They also had another one that was a little bit higher up that came in a different color combination, but this was the green model. This would have also had a convertible as well as a couple other things that matched it in color. But this one would have been very similar to that 1978 model that we took a look at a couple weeks ago, the blue one. Almost the same exact machine, it just is green, basically. But it would have had the same type of power nozzle, hose, tools, all of that. Now, that is one that I got from my good friend Jared. This was one that needed to go when he was getting rid of things from his collection. So I took this one. I believe that is a duplicate of another one that I had from my good friend Jay's collection. So that one is going to be in comparison with another one. And one of those is going up for sale. So if that one in particular interests you, definitely let me know. Drop a comment down below. But that was a pretty fun one to take a look at and get all kind of cleaned up. It actually aided me a lot this past week. I've been pretty nervous about a lot of stuff, especially with selling the truck that I kind of grew up with and then upgrading to a new vehicle. That all has been kind of emotionally difficult to deal with a little bit. So that was just kind of my way of unplugging for a little bit and doing some vacuum stuff again. So but that is the Hoover Celebrity 3. Now, next up, we have like an early 70s Eureka Model 550. This, interestingly enough, would have also been a Kmart exclusive. For those that didn't know about Kmart vacuum cleaners, usually it was a major brand that had a contract with Kmart and then sold like a specific color or model number through the store. Anything in the 500 series or 600 series, I've been told, was sold through Kmart. They were just a little bit lower end than the standard line of Hoover or Eureka products. This little guy, very small, very budget friendly. It would have been sold through Kmart, of course, but then this was actually bought by somebody in, I believe, 1982. There's actually a note inscribed on the hood in here that it was bought from Stark's Vacuum in Portland. So it lived a life in Oregon before it came across the border into Washington. But it was in some sad shape. It needed some more work. It was another one that came from Jared, but it kind of got bounced around a little bit and has a couple of bumps and dents to show that. But I got it all polished up and cleaned up. Unfortunately, this, as well as the Celebrity 3 next to it, uh, don't have any attachments with it. So it's just the machine itself. But it was really, really nice and has the original cord and plug on it. So it definitely was a nice little candidate. It's very, very basic. It's just what we call a straight suction canister, so no power nozzle or anything like that. But very budget friendly, like I said. So this would have been if you had like a hard floor type surfaced studio apartment or something for easy, quick cleanups. It has a very short cord, so you weren't doing a big 2,200 square foot home with something like this. I mean, I guess you could in theory, but man, this little guy would be working a lot. But next up, we have a 1978 Hoover Celebrity from the QS series and the same series that we saw, that 1978 model from a couple weeks ago. This is just the bottom of the line model. It's just the same colors, the Olympic blue color combo. Very, very interesting little machine. That was another one from Jared that just needed to be freshened up. Some of you may actually remember this machine. I included it on another Vacuums Rescued video, a month or so ago, maybe. Been a minute, honestly. But this one was a really fun one to get cleaned up. It's kind of been sitting around hemming and hawing in different areas of my collection, just kind of waiting and hoping for somebody to kind of give it the love that it needed. So thankfully, I was able to do that and finally get it all cleaned up and polished up, and now it can happily sit with the other model from its set. So that one was another fun one. I mean, all three of these were fun to do. I love to clean up vacuums, get them all polished up and shiny, get kind of a mirror looking shine on them, and just be able to kind of look at them like they were brand new again. So, and they certainly deserve it. These are all, unfortunately, they were hard workers in a lot of homes, and it's great to give back to some of these machines that gave everything to us. So, but very, very nice little machines. I absolutely love Celebrities. So these types of UFO looking vacuum cleaners are absolutely to die for. They do such a great job on the floor. And I mean, they're all so cool. They come in all these different colors, like especially anything from the 70s. So very, very happy to have them. Even if one of the green ones does have to leave, it is something that I definitely still take a lot of pride in. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll kind of go from there. But anyways, let's get on to our video for today on the, exposition machine and take a look at that one. All right, everybody. So we have got a really special one to take a look at today. And I know a lot of you will be thinking, like, we're looking at another vintage one. Actually, not really. Now, what we have to look at today is a 2000, that's right, a 2000 Airway Centurion canister vacuum. Now, this one is a very interesting machine, not only because where it came from, but also the story that kind of goes with it. Now, for those that are vacuum collectors that are watching, you probably have some inclination of what this machine is. After all, Airway vacuum cleaners are well over 100 years old. Now, this particular machine, while not that old, is, getting up there in age. We're looking at a probably 25-year-old machine. But what is interesting is this machine isn't really as old as the design goes back. Now, my family actually had an Airway from the 1940s that was a Model 55. The Model 55 actually looked very similar to this, minus it didn't have wheels, it had just kind of runners that went along the side. But overall, the design was extremely similar, with it being stood straight up, had a neck at the top that you would connect your hose to, much like this. Um, However, it didn't have things like a power nozzle like this one did. the power nozzle feature wouldn't be seen on one of these types of machines until they introduced the Model 88. Up until then, they actually changed the design a little bit. Now, you may be wondering, Carl, why would a company want to continue the same design year after year after year after year? Now, Airway reintroduced this design many times. They went from the Model 88 through their Mark series, which they had it in yellow and orange and different shades of white and speckled black colors, and went all the way to their Mark 5 model before graduating on to this model and then a model following before they finally shut their doors and sold the patents. Now, this particular machine is a little interesting. Now, I know what you're thinking. Like, Carl, this can't be from the year 2000. It looks too old. There's just no way. Well, fortunately, but unfortunately, there is. Now, Airway, the company, the Airway Sanitizer Inc., or how they were called, they reintroduced this machine, like I said, many, many times with many different options. Things like they went from using a Rug Master power nozzle that was built by Airway, which was about a foot and a half long, kind of flat rectangle shaped power nozzle that did a very, very nice job, um, to, well, kind of cheapening up and outsourcing their power nozzle from a company called Douglas Manufacturing, which actually made this power nozzle right here. Now, it's actually kind of interesting, this machine, and almost a tad bit ironic, because as Airway was making changes, as they were getting to be, almost an extinct company, they were introducing this particular model kind of starting in the late 90s, about 98, 99. And then this one being from 2000. Now, a lot of you will probably remember the year 2000, or Y2K, was the year that we thought the world was going to end, which, ironically enough, was kind of the truth with Airway. This machine being from 2000, they released their last machine, the Airway Signature Series, that came in a purple color to match the very, very first Airway canister in 2001, which would have been their very last model under the home company. Following that, in about 2002 to about 2005, as I recall, they marketed the Airway sanitizer, essentially, under the VitaVac name, which was the same company that sells Vitamix mixers. And then shortly after that, the design was finally retired and no longer made. But for a very, very long time, after this machine's design with the wheels and the prop in the front and with the switch on the front and being able to stand up, that design was continued for a very, very long time. And to be honest, it did a really good job compared to others. So, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, with this particular machine, it was very much a sign of the times and definitely coming to the end. So, it is getting to be a quite rare machine now. Now, the story on this example. Now, these machines would have originally come with a black powered handle as well as matching black attachments, with, of course, the stainless steel wands, but a black power nozzle that was actually made by Kenmore, the same brand that's sold by Sears and Roebuck. They had a contract with them to sell their power nozzle because, well, the Kenmore power nozzles were actually really, really good power nozzles compared to the Douglas made ones. Now, why do I have a Douglas made power nozzle on this? Why is my hose white? Well, that's what I had. See, when I got this machine, this was from my good friend Jared, and when he bought it, it was literally just the canister. I remember seeing the eBay ad for it, and well, it was just a canister, but it ran really good. And when he got it, he was very, very happy with it. However, it was missing all the necessities in order to be able to use it as a vacuum. Now, being as that this was an Airway sanitizer, these also operated as a air purifier, which technically I guess he could have used that feature with it, but well, it's kind of hard to use these machines without their attachments, to be honest. So I don't blame him for not. But I, however, at one point a few years ago, had seen a free ad on, I think, OfferUp, and there was a lady in a very affluent house in the southern part of Seattle that was giving away all the parts to their old central vac system. They had already gotten rid of the big central vac unit in the garage, but they had, the different hoses and attachments and some power nozzles, and they actually had one of the Kenmore power nozzles that was very similar to the one that this would have come with, albeit it was in a gray color. But they also had this white Douglas made power nozzle. Now, this power nozzle, I saw it, and this was the main reason why I went ahead and got it. So I drove up there, got all the attachments, and came home feeling like an absolute winner because trying to find any of these parts, whether it's the hose, the wands, the power nozzle, or the canister itself, are dang near impossible to find, especially the original parts for the Centurion machine alone. Um, they're just non-existent. You might be able to find some of the Vitavac parts that could go with it, that could kind of make it original, but overall, it was going to be very hard. So when I had this power nozzle, I had the idea and I pitched it to my good friend Jared. And at the time, when he wasn't planning on getting rid of it, I brought down the power nozzle and said, "Hey, listen, I think you could probably get more use out of this than I would, and at least make yourself a good display with it. That way, because I, at the time, thought that the power nozzle that went with this would have been this one, because the Mark V, the last model before this, had this style power nozzle, and I'll show an original one with this style power nozzle right here. So after going through all my things from the collection from Kansas, I managed to find a powered Airway hose that actually goes to my Model 88, which we'll take a look at that at some point soon as well. But this particular machine, I just felt needed it, especially with making a consistent display. So it doesn't have the correct power nozzle, but I made it as correct as I could. So what I did was I took the power nozzle with some wands, and I went ahead and made the Rugmaster decal on the front. Took a few hours online, and I'm pretty decent with a Apple Pen now, so I can make a lot of things with the being an illustrator for children's books now. So I made the decal for it, went ahead and put it on photo paper and everything, and actually just finished it this morning. Now, the beauty of it with this power nozzle, being as it came from a central vac unit, or at least was used with one, well, is it has an on and off switch. Now, one big selling point for the Centurion in their um, instructional video was it had an electrical override switch. So if in any way the brush roll ever got stopped, it would just shut the power nozzle off rather than do more damage. With this one, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have the little red reset switch on the back. However, it has that on and off switch. So if anything happens where I can't use the power nozzle, maybe it breaks, it doesn't just run the power nozzle motor. I can just turn it off and it turns into a floor tool. So very, very nice option that this machine had that I really wish the regular ones did. But I digress. It is a very nice machine. The setup actually works perfectly, especially with the current color combination of it. The white, the black, the cream, everything just works perfectly. And then that Centurion, you know, moniker in the front just makes it a very regal machine. Honestly, it just kind of looks like a trophy. And I believe they even made trophies out of these for top sales. Now, I don't know how many of you guys know, but Airway vacuums were primarily sold door to door, just like Kirby's and Rainbows and a few others like those. Airway was actually sold door to door. And of course, when you bought an Airway, they gave you deals on them so that you would turn your old machine in, or maybe they'd give you a discount and throw in the power nozzle for free or something like that. So It was very interesting. However, I didn't find much in the way of advertisements aside from the original instructional video that my good friend Philip sent me. So, big thank you to him if he's watching out there. But it is a very interesting machine. Of course, unfortunately, Jared did have to part with this one when he was getting rid of stuff from his collection. But being as that I knew what it was and was excited to see it again, I'm very happy to give it a home in my collection. So, but it is all set and ready to go, and I'll probably use it as a daily for a while after the video. Which brings me to my next point. Let's get on to our run demo for today and see how the old Centurion does on the floor. All right, everybody, we've got the Airway Centurion all plugged in and ready to go. So I'm going to start it up without turning on the power nozzle, and then once we get it all up and running, I'll turn the power nozzle on and we'll get to vacuuming. Well, everybody, the old Airway Centurion did a fantastic job on the floor. It's honestly hard to believe that I'm actually older than this machine. For those that don't know, I was born in 1993, so this machine was not even built yet. But the design, of course, had gone on long before me, but um, very interesting that something like this, a machine that is technically quite old, can still do such a good job on floor. I mean, even with the power nozzle that's not necessarily supposed to go with this machine, it still puts perfect carpet lines down. It still does a really good job and is definitely an impressive cleaning machine. So, very happy with the cleaning outcome. And, well, I hope you all enjoyed our little run demo for today. Well, everybody, the old Airway Centurion really did a great job on the floor. I mean, I'm not surprised. Even with the power nozzle that was later replaced by a Kenmore variant, this machine still does a great job. And with the options that the power nozzle had alone, having not been with this Airway, it actually makes for a formidable floor cleaner. Now, this machine is one that I am definitely excited to have. I mean, getting more and more into it and looking at more and more aspects of it. The Centurion name, which is very reminiscent for me because I, of course, am a big fan of the Bison vacuum cleaners. We've taken a look at a green one in the past, but my very first Bison was not the green one, was actually the Centurion model in a brown color. So it kind of harkens its name back to that. So it is really cool to have another Centurion type vacuum cleaner. But it's really cool. It has like a little Roman head on the front, and you know, just the interesting history that went along with it. I know it's not 100% original, and I know that it's going to be really hard to make it original if I ever should choose to do that. But honestly, I like the way that it looks. I like the hose. I like the way that the power nozzle looks compared to the machine. I like that it kind of harkens back to a time when vacuum cleaners were still made with a lot of pride and quality. And it just does a good job on the floor. I mean, it's really hard to compete with something that, can groom the floor better than newer machines. But I hope you guys all enjoyed our little show today. I know we took a look at some really cool ones that I have currently done for my Workbench Wednesday type posts. It has been really fun just kind of keeping my head screwed on straight after kind of dealing with getting rid of vehicles and getting new ones. So it's definitely nice to be able to kind of dial everything back and look at vacuum cleaners and just kind of play around with them. And of course, please, please, please definitely go and take a look at our Amazon link that I posted down below. We love that we've seen an uptick in a lot of our books, and I'm sure some of those have been you guys. So big thank you for those that have gotten books. But we are still working really, really hard to get them out so that people can use them and get them into the hands of the people that need them. So keep taking a look at them, keep clicking that link, and keep eyes on them because, you know, they're going to help a lot of people eventually. So, but anyways, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your weekend as well as a fantastic next week. We'll be back with more vacuum cleaners next week. I don't know exactly if we're going to look at some stuff that I would consider Workbench Wednesday projects, or if we're going to get more stuff out of storage to get worked on and ready for a longer period in storage. I know at some point I am going to pull out my Vitavac that I got from Jason's collection. So we'll take a look at that eventually. So be on the lookout for that if you really like this video. But we will catch you again next week, same time, same place, same guy, but different vacuum, more vacuums, and we'll catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, y'all.